My name is Elena. I am 34 years old. I am a teacher at a primary school in Norwich, England. I have been married to Daniel for 9 years. He is a quiet, thoughtful man who works as an engineer. People always say he is the kind of man who listens more than he speaks. They're right. He listens, he forgives, and he trusts me completely. But I have been keeping something from him for almost 10 years. I didn't mean to lie. I didn't plan for my life to turn out this way, but sometimes one mistake becomes many, and then it becomes your whole truth. Before I met Daniel, I was in love with someone else. His name was Ray. We met during my last year at university. He had a big laugh and wild ideas. He wasn't like the quiet, careful people I grew up with. Ray was exciting. He wanted to open his own business, travel the world, live without rules. I loved him for that. He made me feel free. We were together for 2 years. We dreamed about moving to Manchester and starting a new life together. But my family didn't like him. His parents didn't like me either. They said we were too different. Different beliefs, different goals, different everything. I tried to fight for our relationship, but Ray changed. He became distant. Then one day, he was gone. He left without a word. I tried calling, but his number didn't work. I sent messages, emails. Nothing came back. I thought my heart had stopped beating. Then a few weeks after Ray disappeared, I found out I was pregnant. I sat on the bathroom floor with the test in my hand, shaking. My parents would never accept a child from a man they didn't like. I didn't know where Ray was. I didn't even know if he would want the baby. So I stayed quiet. I cried for a few days and then tried to move on. That's when Daniel came into my life. He was kind and calm, the opposite of Ray. We met through a family friend at a dinner party. I didn't tell him I was pregnant. I didn't tell anyone. I was scared, but Daniel liked me. He started visiting often, bringing small gifts, asking about my day. I didn't love him, not then, but he felt safe. When he asked me to marry him, I said yes. I told myself I could learn to love him. I thought maybe love wasn't always about passion. Maybe it could be about kindness, too. We got married quickly. I told Daniel that the baby was his. He believed me. He was so happy. When Leo was born, he held him like he had waited for that moment all his life. "He's perfect," he said. "He's ours." I wanted to scream the truth, but I couldn't. I watched him change nappies, make bottles, stay awake all night just to rock Leo back to sleep. Every day he gave his heart to that boy. Every day I kept my secret. As Leo grew, I saw pieces of Ray in him. His dark hair, his sharp chin, the way he smiled when he got what he wanted. Daniel didn't notice. He thought Leo looked like me. And maybe he did a little, but I knew the truth. Every time Daniel kissed Leo's head or called him my little man, it hurt. I knew that love was built on my lie. Years passed. We became a normal family. We went to the park on Sundays. We took photos at the beach. We celebrated birthdays with chocolate cake and balloons. Daniel never doubted anything. He was a good husband, even when I didn't deserve him, and I was a good mother. I think I tried my best, but the guilt never left me. One day, everything changed. It was a Saturday. Leo had a school football match, and Daniel and I were both there. We cheered and clapped as he ran across the field. Then, without warning, he collapsed. He fell to the ground and didn't move. The coach ran. I screamed. Daniel rushed to our son and held him. An ambulance came and we followed it to the hospital. The doctors said Leo needed blood quickly. They checked Daniel's blood type first. He agreed right away, but later the doctor returned with a strange look. "Are you sure you're the father?" he asked. Daniel stared at him. I froze. My hands were cold. The doctor explained that the blood types didn't match. He said it was medically impossible. Daniel didn't say a word. He just sat in the chair staring at the floor. That night I told him everything. I told him about Ray, about how I found out I was pregnant, about why I lied. I cried the whole time. Daniel didn't stop me. When I was done, he stood up and walked into Leo's hospital room. He didn't say anything to me. I stayed in the hall alone. For the next few days, we barely spoke. Daniel stayed busy taking care of Leo, and I stayed in the shadows. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if he would leave me, but he didn't. He stayed. A few days later, Leo came home. He was still tired, but feeling better. One afternoon, we got a call from school. Leo had hit another boy. Daniel and I were shocked. We had never seen Leo act like that. When Daniel asked him why, Leo said, "That boy told me, 'You're not my real dad.'" My heart stopped. I looked at Daniel, but he was calm. He nodded slowly. Then he hugged Leo and said, "That's not true. I'm your dad in every way that matters." That night, I went outside to clear my head. The sky was dark and the air felt heavy. As I turned to go back inside, a car pulled up. A man stepped out. My legs felt weak. It was Ray. He looked older, more tired, but still the same. He walked toward me. "He's mine, isn't he?" he asked. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. He didn't wait for my answer. "I want to see him," he said. "I want to know my son." He didn't ask. He demanded. And suddenly the secret I had hidden for so long was not just mine anymore. Rai wanted answers, and worse, he wanted rights. I didn't know what to do, but I knew nothing would ever be the same again. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. Rai didn't shout or raise his voice, but there was something sharp in the way he stood, something that made my hands shake. He hadn't been in our lives for a single day, yet he stood there like he had the right to everything. "I've watched from a distance," he said, "and I know that boy is mine." I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. My silence was enough. Ray saw the truth in my face, in my fear. "I want a DNA test," he added. "If he's mine, I'll take care of him properly." I could barely stand. Ray had vanished when I needed him most. He left without asking what happened, without caring if I was okay. Now he wanted to come back, not for me, but for the child he never knew. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Then from behind me, The front door opened. Daniel stood there holding a mug in his hand. He saw Ray, saw me, and understood everything in 1 second. The three of us stood in the front garden like statues. Ray looked straight at Daniel. "We need to talk," he said. Daniel gave a short nod and stepped aside. "Come in," he said, his voice calm but cold. Inside, Rai sat on the edge of the sofa while Daniel stood by the window. I stood in the kitchen doorway, watching like a stranger in my own home. "I want to know my son," Rai said. "You can hate me. You can call me whatever you like. But I have a right to see him." Daniel didn't move. His hands were in his pockets. "You have no idea who that boy is," he replied. "You weren't there when he took his first steps. You didn't stay up when he had nightmares. You didn't sing to him or teach him how to tie his shoelaces." Ray's face tightened. "That's not my fault. I didn't know. She never told me." I felt a wave of shame crash over me. He was right. I hadn't told him. I had made that choice. "You left," I whispered. "You disappeared. I was pregnant and you were gone. I didn't even know how to find you." "I would have come back," Ray said, looking at me now. "If I had known. I wasn't ready back then, but I am now." Daniel gave a soft laugh. "Ready now? That's nice. But we've already done the hard part. You don't get to walk in now and act like a hero." Ray stood up. "Then, let's do this properly. Let's get the test. If he's mine, I want shared custody. I'll take it to court if I have to." My knees felt weak again. Court, lawyers, papers. I had never imagined it would go this far. Daniel looked at me. "Is that what you want?" he asked. "To turn Leo into a legal question?" I shook my head quickly. "No, I don't want that." Ray said, "Then give me what I'm asking for." The next few days were a blur. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was scared for Leo, scared that this fight between two men would tear him apart. We decided to speak to a family lawyer. The lawyer told us we couldn't stop Ray from requesting a DNA test. If he proved he was the biological father, he could ask for visitation rights, or worse, joint custody. Daniel didn't say much. He went quiet again like he was building a wall around his heart. I asked him one night if he still wanted to stay. "Do you still love me?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked at me for a long time. "I love Leo," he said. "And right now, that's what matters." Rai got the test. We all went to the clinic together. I sat in a corner with Leo while the nurse swabbed Ray and Daniel's mouths. Leo looked confused, but I told him it was a checkup. I hated lying to him again, but how could I explain something so heavy to a child? A week later, the results came in positive. Ray was the biological father. I had known the answer already, but seeing it in writing still hurt. Daniel read the paper and quietly put it down. Ray asked for visitation. Daniel wanted to object, but the lawyer said we had no strong reason to deny him. Rai got every other Saturday. It felt like the beginning of something we couldn't control. The first time Rye picked Leo up, it was strange. Leo didn't know who Ray was, but he went along with it because I asked him to. When he came back, he seemed fine. "We went to a zoo," he said. "He bought me ice cream." I smiled and nodded, but I didn't feel right. Something was changing slowly but surely. Then something unexpected happened. After a few visits, Leo asked Daniel, "Are you still my dad?" Daniel froze. I saw his hand tighten around his tea mug. "Of course," he said. "Why do you ask?" Leo looked down. "Rye said he's my real dad. He said I came from him." I wanted to scream. I wanted to call Ray and tell him to stop, but I stayed quiet. I watched Daniel bend down and look Leo in the eyes. "Listen to me," he said. "A real dad doesn't only give you life. A real dad stays. A real dad loves you every day. I'm your dad because I've always been here and I always will be." Leo hugged him. I cried in the kitchen. After that, Daniel changed. He became more protective. He didn't want Ray coming into our home anymore. He didn't talk much to me either. I knew the love between us was breaking, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't know how to forgive what I had done. I suggested we go to therapy. At first, Daniel didn't want to. "What's the point?" he asked. "We can't undo what happened." "But we can heal," I said. "We have to for Leo, for us." He finally agreed. We saw a therapist named Helen. She was kind but firm. She asked us hard questions. She made us talk about things we had buried for years. I told Daniel everything, every fear, every moment of regret, every reason I stayed silent. He told me how alone he had felt after the truth came out, how he wanted to leave but couldn't walk away from Leo. One day, Helen asked, "Daniel, what do you want most right now?" He didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "I want to be Leo's dad in every way, not just in my heart. I want it written. I want to adopt him." I looked at him shocked. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure," he said. Ray refused at first. "He's my son," he said. "You can't erase me." Daniel replied, "We're not erasing you. We're choosing love. Leo deserves a father who is there every day." Rye didn't like it, but after a few more months he agreed. "If that's what Leo wants," he said, "then I won't stand in the way." Leo was 8 when the papers were signed. Daniel became his legal father. At the courthouse, I held both their hands. Leo smiled and said, "Now you're really my dad." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "I always was," he said. Rye stopped visiting after that. He sent a birthday card one year, but then nothing else. Maybe he understood. Maybe he let go. We continued going to therapy. Some wounds take years to close, but Daniel and I are still here. We are still trying. Some days are hard. Some nights we argue or fall silent. But then we look at Leo, smart, kind, and strong, and we know why we keep going. I once asked Daniel, "Why did you stay?" He said, "Because I made a promise, and because love isn't about blood. It's about showing up every day, even when it hurts. After Daniel adopted Leo, things slowly began to feel more real again. For the first time in years, there were no more secrets, no more letters to hide, no more silence full of guilt. But truth does not fix everything overnight. The pain does not leave just because the paper says father next to Daniel's name. Healing takes time, and trust takes even more. At home, we had to learn each other all over again. I started watching Daniel more carefully. The way he folded Leo's shirts, the way he stayed up checking school projects, the way he smiled when Leo showed him a drawing. All those things used to be part of the background. Now they stood out like bright signs. I saw how much he had given and how much I had almost lost. There were still days when Daniel barely looked at me. Days when he walked through the house quietly, as if trying not to disturb his own pain. I never asked him to move on quickly. I only asked him to stay, and he did. Leo didn't understand everything, but he felt the change. One night he asked me, "Did I do something wrong?" That question broke me in half. I held him tightly and said, "No, sweetheart. You did everything right. The grown-ups made mistakes, not you." I began telling Leo small pieces of the truth in ways a child could understand. I said that families are built in many different ways, that what matters most is love, not blood, that Daniel chose him even when he didn't have to, that some dads are made by heart, not by history. Leo nodded like he understood, but he also said something that surprised me. "I don't want Rye to come back." I asked why. He said because he's a stranger, and strangers don't feel like home. That night, I sat alone in the dark, thinking about those words. Children know more than we think. Daniel and I kept going to therapy. There were still hard conversations. One day I asked him, "Do you forgive me?" He looked at me and said, "I'm trying, but some days I still feel like a fool, like I built a life on sand." I understood. So I said, "Then let's rebuild it slowly, brick by brick." And that's what we did. We started making new memories, not to forget the past, but to give it a new shape. We traveled to Cornwall one summer. We walked on the beach, picked stones, and laughed when Leo ran into the cold water without warning. We took photos, and in each one, Daniel's hand was always on Leo's shoulder. That hand, steady and kind, told the real story of our family. The most powerful moment came a year later on Leo's birthday. He was turning 9. We had planned a small party with some of his school friends. I baked a cake, and Daniel helped put up decorations. Leo had asked for one special thing, a speech from both of us. After the games and gifts, Leo stood on a chair and said, "Thank you for coming. I want to say something to my mom and dad." Then he pointed to us and said, "My family is not perfect, but it's mine, and I love it." The room clapped. I held Daniel's hand under the table. Later that night, when everyone had gone, Leo went to bed with a big smile on his face. Daniel and I sat on the sofa holding cups of tea. "He's amazing," I said. "He's growing into someone strong." Daniel nodded. Then he said something I hadn't expected. "I used to think love was easy, that it was something you either had or didn't. But now I know it's a choice, a hard one. And I choose you. I choose both of you. I felt tears in my eyes. Even after everything, he looked at me because of everything. That night, we didn't say much more. We didn't need to. Some things are too big for words. They live in small gestures, in quiet rooms, in shared cups of tea after a long day. One afternoon, nearly 2 years after everything came out, I saw Rai at the supermarket. He was standing near the bread aisle holding a basket. We made eye contact. He walked over. "How is he?" he asked. "He's doing well," I said. "He's happy. He's loved." Rai nodded. He looked older, tired somehow. "I thought I was ready," he said. "But I wasn't. He already had a dad. I just didn't see it. I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. Some doors don't open again, and maybe they shouldn't." Ray continued. "Thank you for taking care of him. Both of you." I gave him a soft nod. He didn't ask to see Leo again. He didn't bring up court. He didn't talk about rights. He simply picked up his basket and walked away. And just like that, he disappeared again. Back home, I told Daniel about it. He didn't seem angry or sad. "That part of the story is over," he said. And he was right. Now, 3 years have passed since that day at the hospital, the day everything fell apart, or maybe the day everything began. We still have tough days. Marriage is not a movie. Love is not a clean road. But our house is full of warmth again. We eat together. We talk more. We say "I'm sorry" faster. We say thank you more often. And we tell Leo every day that he is enough, that he is wanted, that he is loved. Sometimes I still think about the past, about what I could have done differently. But then I remember where I am now, and I know the truth saved us, even if it broke us first. If you're listening to this story and you've made mistakes too, know this: you are not alone. We all carry parts of ourselves we wish we could erase. But healing begins with honesty. And sometimes love doesn't leave. Sometimes it stays. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.